click record. So I'm very excited to introduce Vicki de Klerk with the validation method, and she is live from the Netherlands. And Vicki, we are going to dive into the validation method. We had a little poll on the screen there to see our audience's familiarity with the validation method. So how about we end this poll and we're going to share these results. And so everybody can see uh, who at least completed the poll that we've got a great audience for you today, Vicki. They're not really familiar with the validation method, so you're probably pretty excited about that.
Well, that helps me a lot, actually, because now I can know how deep to go. I did see that there was a question somewhere
Let's
at
see.
the beginning, but while you search for the question, I'm going to start by introducing myself. I'm Vicki de Klerk, and you pronounced it perfectly.
Okay.
And I'm the daughter of Naomi Feil. And Naomi Feil founded the validation method back in the 60s and 70s. And I thought it would be fun to show you some slides, some photos of the development of the validation method. Can you put up PowerPoint slide number 2, please?
Sure. Let me
Cool.
bear with me here. Whoops. Okay, bear with me. Okay.
So Naomi was born in Munich, Germany. And when she was about 4 years old, it was 1937, not a great time for a Jewish family in Germany. And her mother and her 2 little girls, my mother and my aunt, basically went underground and made it all the way to New York, which is where they met up with my grandfather, who had come before by 6 months. He got a job as a director of a nursing home. At that point, it was called the Montefiore Home for the Aged. And the picture on the right is my mom as a teenager sitting in front of the Montefiore home because the family lived in the home, not in a little director's house behind it, but they had 5 rooms right there in this nursing home. And as my mom describes it, she says, the older people were my friends. They were the people I would come home to after school and tell my stories. And she has a million stories about all those interesting people she knew as a girl. But her experiences back then really informed her future work. She went off to Columbia University. She got her master's in social work, married, had 2 daughters, and divorced, and then moved back to where? Cleveland, Ohio, where she began working again at the Montefiore home, this time as a professional. Next slide, please.
Great. Now, I think I saw on social media, is there a celebration that recently?
She's going to be 90 years old in July.
Oh,
We're
wow.
holding a great big Facebook fest, a live event on her birthday. That's the 22nd of July, and it will be at noon Eastern time. I think Naomi's going to be there. I think my brothers are going to be there. I will certainly be there. I did a little 16-minute film, the history of her life, and she and I did an interview together, which will all be played on that live event.
Well, you said the 23rd of July.
22nd.
Oh, 22nd of July. Um, and I am gonna keep my fingers crossed that I don't have one of our discussions s- scheduled for that day so that we can really promote
Join.
this as a July 22nd. It's a Friday, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Okay, great. We are blocking that off, and we're gonna. I hope that those folks in the audience, but we'll make this one of our positive aging events, and just encourage our audience to attend that because truly a pioneer in this field.
Well, I don't think that is overstated. What you see in the upper left is my mom in the middle with her parents. You have to imagine German Jewish refugees coming to the United States, learning English. My grandmother went back to college and earned her MSW. She opened up a school for a social work department in the nursing home, which had never been done before. Nowadays, social workers work at nursing homes, or we would call it long-term care facilities, but back then they did not. At this time, she met her second husband, Ed File, who you see in the lower left. Ed was a film documentary maker, professional documentary maker, and he was able to film much of the birth of validation and how it grew over the years. We have film footage of all of that. And those are some stills from films that he took on the right of her developing validation at the Montefiore home. Next slide, please. Thanks. And at one point, they took, she had appeared on television, in local television, talking about her group work and how she was working with students. And somebody called her up and said, well, will you do a workshop and tell us more about this? And at the time, she would take the old 16mm films that Ed had made, show the film, and then describe the work. That was the contents of the first workshops. And within a very short time, she was on the road, I would say a third of the year. In the course of her lifetime, she did over 1,000 workshops in the United States and 1,000 workshops in Europe and Asia. Next slide, please. Germany, the United States, Japan, Austria, China, everywhere. Incorporating her enormous skill for role play to demonstrate and show people what's going on in older adults who have cognitive decline. Next slide, please. So the Validation Training Institute was founded in 1982 by my mom. She's written 2 books. We have 23 training centers, we call them AVOs, around the world in 13 different countries. There are over 480 certified validation teachers. And while that may not seem like a lot, what that means, each teacher, to get your teacher certificate takes a minimum of 3 years of training. The first level is about 9 months to a year. The second level is 9 months to a year. And then there's the third course plus a co-training. So all of these people have dedicated quite a lot of time and resources to achieving this level of certification. Okay,
Is
we're
that the
here. Yeah, that's exactly right. What is validation? I like to think of it as a triangle. Next slide. The basic attitude is really who I am and what I bring to my work, to my relationships, my friends, my partner, everywhere in my life. And when we validate, we are always honest, respectful, and we use emotive empathy. And by emotive empathy, I mean we put aside our own feelings and thoughts, and we take on the emotion of the other person. And that's different than cognitive empathy, where you understand the emotions of the other person. If an old woman is crying, I will, and we're going to do an exercise on that in a little bit. I move into her sadness and I share her sadness for the 5 minutes that I validate. And that's it. At any rate, the theory is important because it gives us our goals, the principles by which we work, and an understanding of aging and dementia, which is a word my mother says should never be used because it means away from mind. These people are not away from mind. They may be away from our reality, but they are thinking. They are, they have something going on. And sometimes we understand it and sometimes we don't, but that's our problem, not theirs. It's interesting, she was saying all these things back in the 70s and wrote them down in 1982 with her first book. And now so much of what she wrote in her first book is now taken as, well, of course, we have to step into their shoes. I like to call my mom the godmother of person-centered care, because she was saying we have to move into their reality, step into their shoes way back. She's inspired a lot of people, and thank goodness, because it helps the very old. It makes their last stage of life more meaningful, more joyful, more expressive. So that's the theory a little bit. And then there are these techniques, and everybody wants to learn techniques because they think if I do X, Y, Z, I'll be able to communicate better. But I'm going to teach you some techniques today as well. But they're mainly associated with building that basic attitude, because if you do techniques without the empathy and the respect and the integrity, the techniques are sterile and dry and won't work very well. And if you got that basic attitude integrated, and you've integrated a lot of techniques, but you're doing it for the wrong reasons without those goals, that theory, you're also going to run into some problems. It is only the combination of all 3 elements where you truly get the validation method. Here I wanted to introduce one of the most important of the validation principles, and that is all human beings are unique and worthwhile. And if you really believe that, then you can't help but be respectful, even with somebody who can't speak anymore, or someone who is swearing or angry. You need to have respect for them. Next slide, please.
Do I have the right slide?
Oh, I'm not quite up to this. Let's go past it and see where we are. Ah, not quite there either. So drop out the, nope, drop out the PowerPoints, if you would. So do the people see me?
Yep.
Okay, because what I see is you,
Yeah.
Steve.
And here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop my video. So now you are the only person on the screen.
Oh, well, that's also not so important, but
Oh, okay.
um, there's one other principle I want to introduce before we move on to uh, skill building, which is what we're going to do next. And that is older, disoriented adults should be accepted as they are, and we should not try to change them. And that is important. To accept them as they are without trying to change them. I know I'm repeating that. And it seems like an easy concept, but in actuality, when somebody is angry at you and blaming you for stealing all their money, to accept them as they are can be challenging. So that's where the validation techniques will help. And
And
understanding the principles will help as well.
and I would say that a large majority of the calls that I receive from adult children who are challenged with their parents is the opposite of that. It's change how can I change my mom or dad,
Right.
or my mom or dad. I want them the way that they used to be. Like this is and because they can't be that way, I need to get them
Right.
out of the house. You know.
Right. I totally get that. Um, and that is the biggest challenge for family carers, because that letting go, and I have to tell you that touches me very personally because I lost 3 parents last year, which I suppose is a record, 3 parents in 1 year, one of whom was very disoriented. One of them, I could see COVID really made his world very small. And with that, some cognitive decline was going on at a more rapid pace. So I understand that want to keep your parent as they were. But of course, that's my want. And the question when you validate is, what's going on there? What do they want? What do they need? And what are they expressing? Um, we can't really change them. We can't make them who they were. All we can do is change ourselves. And I'm sure that's the advice you give people. But that takes personal work. That is not the work of validation. Validation is the way we can make that bridge and understand better. So the very first technique I wanted to teach was centering, and that's the next slide, which is, you don't even have to bring it up because, or you can, it's a
I got
pretty
it there.
picture and people might like to look at it. Centering is a way of clearing out your mind and your thoughts and your emotions so that you can be truly open to another human being. If I'm all tied up with thoughts and feelings and what was and what I want to have happen and I cannot really take in the other. So this exercise I'm going to lead is one of my favorites because I'm a visually oriented person, and it's about breathing and using color to help you find a quiet place inside. So please put your feet on the ground. If your legs are crossed, uncross them. Wiggle till you feel your sit bones. I'm going to assume that most people are sitting. If you're standing, that's great as well. Find a physical position that feels comfortable. And inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And imagine a color, maybe it's your favorite color, that gives you strength, that makes you feel comforted, that makes you feel like you're resourceful. And imagine taking that color in every time you inhale. So as you inhale, you take the color in, and the color goes down through your chest. And with the next breath, the color starts filling up your torso. And with the next breath, into your legs. And into your feet, and don't forget every little toe. Now come up to your shoulders, and with the next breath, fill your arms like balloons with color, going into every finger. The color gives you energy, the color gives you resourcefulness, strength. And with one last inhalation, fill your head with color. If you had your eyes closed, come back now and open your eyes. When we can be open to any human being, whether it's your children, your partner, your colleagues, or an older adult who has cognitive decline, then we can better do the next step, which is to listen, to observe, to develop empathy for that person. And the principle here is listening with empathy builds trust. It reduces anxiety and it restores dignity. So let's go to the next slide. Here's an exercise I want to do with you, and where it's very handy that we're in the webinar format, because you can do this exercise without getting embarrassed, and you don't have to show yourself. So hang on, I want to get the chat going. Here we go, because I'm going to ask you to respond in the chat. The picture to the far left, try to describe what you see very objectively, not the emotion that's being expressed, but specific physiological changes. For instance, The shoulders are a bit slumped forward. What do you see? Open up your chat. Mouth turned down, great. Frowning, right. What's going on with the chin? Is it jutting out or is it pulled in? Eyes are glaring. Okay, chin is jutting out, right, right. Now the eyebrows, what's happening with the eyebrows? Are they scrunched together? They're knitted. I love that word. Thank you. Now take a look at the nostrils. What's going on with the nostrils? Are they narrow or flared? Right, maybe a bit flared. Exactly. Here's the next step. So we've done the observation bit. Great. You guys are wonderful. Now we want to calibrate. And what calibrate means is we match what we see. So I'm going to scrunch my forehead, drop my eyebrows like his. I'm going to flare my nostrils. I'm going to turn my mouth down. Remember, nobody can see you do this, so try it. My chin is jutting forward. My shoulders are rounded. I don't know if you can hear it, but my voice tone has changed. And when I do that, really, a feeling comes up in me. What feeling comes up in you when you calibrate to that man? Please write it in the chat. Confused, interesting, okay. Frustration, anger, burying a heavy thought, unhappy, skeptical. Wonderful. Now I'm going to add something to the mix here. There are basically 7 what they call basic human emotions. There's anger, sadness, surprise, disgust, happiness. What am I missing?
Are they
Fear.
happy, angry, sad, neutral, disgust, and scared?
Fear is one. Surprise is one. So what we see in the man's picture is more towards angry. Now there's lots of variations of angry, which include unhappy, irritation, anxiety. I'm not seeing so much. When I look to the lady on the far right, I'm seeing more signs of anxiety, which vibrates to the core emotion, fear. Do you see it? Let's take the lady on the far right. In the chat, describe what you see. Very specifically, not name the emotion, but what physiological changes or eyes are open, right? Tension, where? Where's the tension? Jaw is clenched, right? Brows furrowed. What's with the chin? The cheeks. Nostrils. Yeah. These are all excellent. Wonderful, wonderful observations. Now let's try it. Clench your teeth, flare your nostrils, open your eyes wide. And what do you feel? Fear, anxiety, right. Oh, attack mode, that's so interesting. You're being attacked, I would assume. Fear because you're being attacked. I assume that's what you meant, Joanna. What is interesting is very technically, we can find a pathway to empathy. Maybe we don't have it perfectly, because every human being is different. But we can at least move into the sphere, the emotional sphere that that other person is in, and connect and ask, my God, you look scared. What's going on? And that's a quick entryway into connecting with other people. This is true, by the way, with everybody. Can you stop the PowerPoint for just one moment? I want to explain, this is important. This is not special because I think everybody here does that all the time. They just don't associate it with their work. For instance, if you're sitting down with a really close friend, and that friend is telling you about something awful that happened, it's almost automatic. We move straight into that cognitive or emotive empathy. You go, oh man, that's awful. What happened next? And you're right there reflecting the same emotion as the other person. And I just want you to make that connection between what you do all the time with your work or your communication with older adults. That's exactly the same thing. You're doing it already. Good. Where are we on time? Not too bad. Let's go to PowerPoint 12, which is another prerequisite skill. Right. Now, the next one. Yeah, voice tone. Now, this picture has to do with congruence. And it has to do with understanding that how we say something is often much more important than the actual words that come out of our mouth. So I'm going to do a little exercise with you, and this is where we're going to bring in poll number 2, Steve. I'm going to say a sentence 3 different times. And after each time, I want to do the same poll. Okay, poll 2. So.
Okay, you tell me when you want me to launch it.
I will. What is going on here? Launch the poll. This is what did you feel, not what did you sense in me. Okay.
Okay.
Well, it did not make, can you show everybody the results? It did not make people happy. All right, now I'm going to try it again. And right after I finish the same sentence, pop up the poll, okay?
Okay, let me just make sure. Oh boy, let's see. Oh,
You can
relaunch.
just
Okay, no,
relaunch.
no, I got it. Yep.
Okay, ready? Hang on.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. And okay, there we go. All right.
What is going on? That was it. What is going on?
Oh, okay. Here. Okay, hold on. Sorry, a little technical. We were talking about this earlier. Um, does everybody see it on the screen?
No,
Okay,
they're
here.
saying no.
Okay, hold on.
Huh.
Hold on. Okay. Share results. Stop sharing. Okay. Um, yeah, the technical. Okay. Um,
Stop the poll.
okay.
Yeah, I'll repeat it.
Yeah, hold on.
Are we ready to go, Steve?
I see. Okay, so it's share the results. Stop sharing.
Right.
Okay. Oh, here I'm just. Oh, here we go. Continue. Okay.
Okay.
There. They should
I'll
see it
say it
now.
again. What is going on? What is going on?
Okay. Looks like about 60%. So
Interesting.
I'm
Okay. Okay, stop sharing. And oh, you can share the results if you want with everybody. Felt patronized. Thank you. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go to the third and last time.
and now I know how to do this. So I'm gonna wait until you do
Okay.
it, and then we can do this.
What is going on? What is going on? Oh, interesting. Disgust? Scared?
Okay. So we got.
That's interesting. Okay. Um, the first time I was being very demanding, and that was almost like a parent to a child. The second time I was being condescending, again, treating the other person, treating you like you were a child. Oh, isn't it nice? Oh, isn't it sweet? Why don't we go get a cup of tea? It's not honest in my voice. But the last one, I was trying to do adult to adult, like I would say it to my husband, to my colleagues. What is going on? With respect, with congruence. I'm not sure that that message got across in this exercise from the answers, but I hope with my explanation, it became clearer.
Well, I think one thing that became very clear is to just, we really need to pay attention to those people we're communicating with, and um, and and even asking for clarification, um, or I guess validation of those feelings
And,
is important.
well, yes, and pay attention to our own voice tones.
Hmm.
That's critically important because we often don't know how we sound to other people. And that is why I'm giving you a homework assignment. I would like everybody to please, what the next time you are talking with an older adult, with or without disorientation, if you would please find the record app on your phone and record 1 minute. That's it. And later on, listen to your voice tone and do a self-evaluation. Am I speaking to the other person in an adult to adult voice tone? Or am I being slightly condescending or demanding or exasperated or? Okay, that's your homework for after this.
That's a great idea. It's a great idea. Um, I've done that several times in terms of just listening to the way that I would talk to my kids and things of that
Mhm,
nature,
mhm.
So,
Same holds true there.
yep.
We're often condescending in our voice tones or syrupy sweet or
Hmm.
in our efforts. It's not, doesn't come from a bad place. It
Yep.
comes from a place of generally lack of awareness.
Hmm.
So this is an awareness call. Yeah, you can move on.
Okay.
Appropriate eye contact is the next critical prerequisite for finding connection with another human being. And by appropriate, what we mean is appropriate to the other person. The other person may crave direct eye contact, or the other person may feel threatened by direct eye contact. And it's our job to feel it out, to test the waters. Almost everybody likes direct eye contact, not staring, but direct eye contact. Good. And you can do the next one. Finding the right distance is the same. And I've got a short little exercise for that. Can you see the letters above A, B, C, D, E? Which photo best shows finding the appropriate distance? And now yes, exactly.
All right. Looks like we're almost to 50%. Okay, so here
Well,
I'll
as people are answering, when I look at E, nobody answered E, and I'm very happy about that because he's clearly getting too close, too quick, even though he is on eye level, which is great. D, this is a woman who is withdrawn, and you can't make, he's too far away, and he's coming from the back. And as most of you know, coming from the back can scare an older adult. You never want to approach from the back. So even if it was a good distance, he's coming from the wrong place. C, what's going on there is he's looking down on her, and he's very far away. It's hard to have a real connection with another person unless you make some eye contact. B, he's making eye contact, and he's certainly close enough, but he's too close. And you can see that because the man who is sitting is withdrawing. And there, his eyes are wide open, his mouth is slightly parted, and he's a little bit scared, I would think. Picture A, you have eye contact, you have people on the same eye level, and the distance seems to be comfortable for both people, including the older woman, because her face is relaxed. Okay, thanks. We can stop sharing. And go to the next slide. What validation offers you is a way to communicate, improved relationships, the comfort of knowing what to do next, a perspective, and also a chance for self-reflection. I see two participants raise their hands. Let's find out what's going on there.
Okay. Oh, they are. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm going to just allow both of them. We've got Mary Busey and F. Buzari.
Okay.
And if sometimes folks raise their hand by mistake, but if Mary or F. Buzari, if you had a question, feel free to open up your mic. Oh, and F. Buzari says, when will the recording be available for you watch? Later this afternoon, and I'll put that at proaging.com. Okay, so that was their question. And then Mary, if you've got a question, just open up your mic. If not, we'll keep on going. I love this comment from Jose Ramos. The path to true empathy, sadly, often comes through suffering.
It's very philosophical.
I like philosophical thoughts, yeah.
Here's another thought to add to that. Every human being feels the basic human emotions. We do, our children do, our parents do, our grandparents do. That's what makes them basic human emotions. And it's really having that ability to connect through emotion, empathy, that where we're all on the same level. So Buddhists believe, of course, that life is about suffering. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm working on that.
Um,
There
let's,
were two questions. Ah, those were for the polls.
yep.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah,
This
I
is an
mean,
excellent time to pop up and say something.
yeah, let's see. Jose's got his hand raised. So, Jose, if you want to open your mic.
We can drop out the PowerPoints as well.
Okay. All right, Jose, can you
So
hear me?
first, yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mr. Klerk, I want to thank you for your work, your validation work, and I want to tell you that we do research on communication for people with elders, uh, and um, and it's not simply a translation of English to German. You have to incorporate the elements of empathy that you are alluding to. And I wanted to just substantiate what you're saying with a few simple points. One is that we now know through neuroscience that consciousness resides in the reptilian brain where the emotions reside. It's not in the cerebral cortex that sometimes is ravaged with Alzheimer's, which means that people retain emotions and consciousness even till death. And if you want to communicate with somebody, the idea of suffering relates to this following fact that when you use your cerebral cortex, you are tempted to think in terms of logic and trying to get people to, as you were saying, understand your perception of the world. But when you communicate through the emotional side, you find that what the emotional brain is triggered to do through evolution is surrender to suffering. And when you surrender to suffering, you find that your brain opens up your cognitive ability to understand the next person. And we use that in our translation tool. If you really want to understand an elder person and step into their shoes, what you really need to do is participate in being able to sense that suffering. Because as you do that, you are now giving up your logical brain and you're embracing your empathetic one.
Thank you for your comments. Um, I want to point out something on the other side as an addition. When my stepfather first began losing his memory, a short-term memory in the beginning, he was about 80 years old. And by the time he died at 97, he didn't know where he was. He recognized my mom, but um, not a lot of other people. So he was pretty far along the cognitive decline, but he was happy. He was happy. He expressed his emotions. He had Naomi Feil as a wife. What a lucky guy. She brought him to movie openings and theater performances. And when he couldn't walk and had a catheter and all this stuff, she bought a wheelchair van, brought him places. She organized piano lessons, painting lessons. When he finally died, he died peaceful and happy. All the caregivers that came into their home had some training in validation. They understood that when he tried to grab their breast, that he was expressing sexuality he had never expressed as a teenager. And so they were able to just, they didn't allow him to grab their breast, but they were able to deal with it because we all talked about it. And it was clear he needed to express that, and there was room and space for him to do so. One day I will write that story, the Naomi and Ed story, because I think it's a beautiful way of, it's another model for how to be with a disoriented partner.
Now, oh, thanks for your comment. Thanks for your contribution, Jose. And The other day I received a an email from somebody who is dealing with diagnosed mental health disorders with an older adult, and
Hard.
di- so and I think this all can sometimes get very confusing with dementia and um, mental health and what have you, and I think uh, when when you encounter challenging or aggressive behavior, I think when a resident is behaving unusually but happy, it's one thing. But when they're aggressive, and again, this is not just older adults. This is human beings, regardless of age. It could be a child in school, or somebody in the workplace. Any sort of thoughts on that? And
Yep,
and
yep, absolutely. Um, uh, Anger, I prefer the word anger to aggression. When we're dealing with older adults with cognitive decline, I want to make that very specific. For those people who've got late onset Alzheimer, early onset Alzheimer, etc. Less so for early onset Alzheimer, because that's a really different diagnosis with a totally different set of behaviors that are uh, often found with that type of illness. But with very old people with cognitive decline, when somebody is very angry, I do exactly what I taught you. I quickly center myself, I observe, I calibrate, and then I explore. So if somebody comes up and says, "You stole all my money," I'm going to go, "You're missing all your money?" With that voice tone, with the facial expression expressing empathy. I might ask, when was it first missing? And so explore what's going on. I never lie. I never say, "Oh yes, I took your money, I'll give it right back." I will never divert and say, "Oh, don't think about the money here. Here's a nice cup of tea." I will never reality orient. I will never say, "Oh no, it's not I didn't take your money. Don't you remember you signed over your accounts to me long ago?" That's reality orientation. Instead, and that's what's so cool about validation, and also what makes it so complex to learn, is that you're riding a line between reality on one side and diversion or lying on the other. You're not saying yes, you're not saying no, you're just saying, "Tell me more." And I see that our time is over. And if you could put that brochure in the, I have a little brochure for everybody, for those of you who want more information.
and I will also include that brochure on the link to the recording at proaging.com. Yeah.
You are awesome. I thank you for that,
It's
because we have so much to offer. Family carers, professional carers, caregivers who go to the home, people who work in facilities or not. We have a lot to offer for people who are interested.
And I will, is it okay if I save your PowerPoint as a PDF so nobody can edit it, and
Sure,
add a link to that
I
as
would
well?
be grateful.
Great.
I would be grateful.
Well, Vicky, thank you. This has been an amazing presentation, and it's uh, I think the history is and the fact that your mom uh, was so many years ahead of the curve, and obviously inspirational to a lot of the things that the person-centered movement that we think is so new. This has been a great history lesson, and I've got it marked on my calendar. I'm not going to book anything, and so I will definitely be seeing you on Facebook, and I hope that that everyone else will join for your mom's 90th birthday.
That would be great. We
So,
welcome you.
all right. Well, you
Thanks.
have a good evening in the Netherlands, and thank you for your time today. And everybody, thanks for your participation. And we will see you at one of the next discussions. Thank you.